What is going on? It is going to be Tournament Dustbowl in the game Tiberium Wars, but with Bike Rush owns as the red knot in the bottom side and as the green Scrin in the top side. We are going to have shock treatment. So this game is, let's see, about a month and a half old at this point. It was played near the end of August, so it is a little bit old for those of you who like to complain about every game that's not from yesterday. But it is going to be Scrin versus Nod, and actually going for dual portal, which is kind of an interesting play out of shock treatment. Not something you see very often, unless I missed a lot, and the metagame has shifted that much. But it is going to be, let's see, versus, Bikershun's actually sending his engineer way out, and he's going to be throwing down his first refinery, and shock treatment going to be doing the exact same and sending out a host of buzzers, which actually I believe, yeah, shock treatment is playing random in this game, and so he's sending out an insane amount of buzzers. He knows that his opponent is Nod, but shock treatment going to be securing both of these Tiberium spikes at a pretty minimal set of casualties there. He is going to be able to take that, and then it does look like Bike Rush might be able to take it back in about a minute later. But he is going to be holding both of those spikes for a little while and actually going to be escaping in the direction of that engineer, wherever the engineer went, over here. So he probably did spot that engineer, but shock treatment going to be going for those two spikes, capping them and getting all of that cash, which it is going to be Tiberium Wars, which means 25 credits a second, which totals to 50 credits a second, which is, I believe, 3,000 credits a minute, which is just a pretty crazy amount, especially since, hey, that's an extra refinery or like almost 3 more Predator tanks, I believe. I don't remember the cost of these individual units anymore. I haven't played this game in quite a while. I've been doing a lot of other stuff, like, you know, going to college, getting, well, actually working a little bit, but actually today, not working, and I don't have class either, so it's kind of nice to just have a day off and be able to cast a crazy amount of CNC that I can upload in a couple of days. But we are going to be seeing quite a few harvesters out of Bike Rush producing another one, and of course base creeping off to that Tiberium field to the side, and it does look like shock treatment is doing the exact same thing, even placing down another refinery. Almost identical timings between these players, so both of these players playing super greedy, super macro oriented. They're going for the long haul. They want to get as many resources in as they can, and we're going to be seeing, let's see here, 5 over there and an additional 2 more harvesters, which will bring not shock treatment, but rather Bike Rush owns his total up to 7, and we are going to be seeing shock treatment up to 8 himself, and he is going to be dropping down another warp sphere, so actually up to 2, and producing a whole lot of seekers. Is he going to mix in some gunwalkers, or is he going to go strictly seekers? He might actually just tech up. I can't imagine him going gunwalkers. Not a whole lot of infantry out of Bike Rush owns. We do have quite a few scouting units out of Bike Rush owns. So you saw he peeked up here, kind of saw, hey, he's expanded already. He's got another war factory out. And actually, Bike Rush going for a crane, a curious choice because, you know, crane's not exactly the most common choice. And actually, I don't remember if they could still build base defenses. I don't remember if that was a patch that they changed within, nope, they can't build base defenses, so that was a patch within Tiberium Wars. Couldn't remember if that was in Tiberium Wars or if they added that with the econ slowdown of Kane's Wrath. But we are going to be seeing some Seeker tanks going to be moving out, taking out a scouting unit, and we are going to be seeing Bike Rush sending out a couple of Scorpion tanks just to defend, trying to mass them up. He is up to those 2 war factories as well. Both of these players have been playing off these 2 war factory play for a little while. They are kind of going on 2 base, but we are going to see Seekers getting taken out, quite a few, but dropping down the lightning spike so that he can, I guess, let it get taken out. If you're going to engage, then engage. You don't let your lightning spike get taken out while your tanks do nothing. And actually going to be setting up some clones and actually taking time to fire at a couple of those. You're taking a couple of shots, a couple of volleys from these Seeker tanks, but the Scorpion tanks should be able to clean this up without too much problems. But just so many Seeker tanks, and actually dropping down that repair drone support power, and he is maybe going to be able to be pushed back here, and his Scorpion tanks going to be pushing forward a little bit further and taking out a couple more of these Seeker tanks, and yet a 3rd war factory and placing down an extra refinery. Extra 2 refiners for Bike Rush, and the Scorpion tanks getting split up again a little bit and allowing the Seeker tanks to do quite a bit of damage to them. Focus down individual Scorpion tanks instead of having to engage the entire army. But we are going to be seeing lots of Scorpion tanks go down, but quite a few Seeker tanks went down as well. Who is really ahead? I'm not sure. Both of these players almost completely mining out their main bases and moving on to having most of their secondary bases mined out as well. A couple of buzzers over here doing some harassment, but he's going to be throwing down a tech lab on the front lines. Will it get taken out? Will it take any damage at all, or are we going to see just a whole bunch of mad spam rocket troopers going to be coming out of here, actually selling off that Hand of Nod after getting a single scouting or a single rocket squad out of there, but also going to be not selling off that selling off the tech lab, but instead going for a Black Hand squad and just non-stop action basically from the beginning. So many Seeker tanks still holding the line, but they're quickly getting diminished by these Scorpion tanks, and Storm Riders here to the rescue. Is that 8? That does look like at least 8 going to be there, possibly 12 on the way if he is going for 3 gravity stabilizers instead of just 2, but we do have quite a few Storm Riders, which Storm Riders do a fair amount of damage, especially if you focus fire them, which I think would be the better choice rather than letting them split the damage up. He is doing a really good job of taking down these Scorpion tanks, though he has eliminated 5 or 6 with just with the Storm Riders. But we are going to be seeing 3 of those gravity stabilizers, and look how fast those Scorpion tanks get taken out, even going from half health. It is very, very quick just to take those guys out. And yeah, single Red Raider buggy is not going to be enough to take down that many Storm Riders, and Shock Treatment may be able to do some heavy damage. I can't imagine that this would give him the game, but we are going to be seeing some Stealth Tanks, which Stealth Tanks can be absolutely devastating if they get the shots off, but if they're focused down just like that, then they don't do a whole lot. But we are going to see a couple of more volleys get taken off by the Stealth Tanks, but 1 does go down. He does have 2 more going to be waiting, and probably going to be producing a 3rd and possibly a 4th over here. Can't imagine that he would stop Stealth Tank production at this point. Of course, Stealth Tank's very versatile. The only problem is he does have pretty good stealth detection over here and going to be able to take out a couple of more of the Seeker tanks, and then the Lightning Spike is going to be here just as a little bit of a distraction as his units try and get away. And the single Scorpion tank able to somehow survive and get past the defenses of Shock Treatment, and we are going to be seeing an extra Black Hand squad. Well, not really an extra, but the same one from over here, and a couple of more Buzzer squads just being annoying and being harassing kind of these stealth tanks, although they don't really do any damage. Going to be doing a little bit of damage to that SAM turret, just saying, hey, it's here, we know it's here. We're going to have to not attack that area to, you know, kind of save ourselves a little bit of trouble from the Storm Riders. And the Storm Riders, not really the problem he has to deal with. There's so many Seekers, just switching from Seekers to Storm Riders and back to Seekers again. And even going to be throwing down an Obelisk. Bike Rush is going to be, or rather Bike Rush has, and pulling back his Harvesters, trying to save them and save the Tiberium that's inside of them, even taking out a couple of more Storm Riders, always good for him. But Bike Rush able to recap that one Tiberium tower, while on the other hand, Shock Treatment has been taking and leeching from this field, or rather just straight up harvesting it, not really leeching, but moved his drone platform and set up base over here, even leaving this one refinery. Needs to sell that off just to get a couple of 100 credits back, but at this point, probably not even going to. And will it go down? It's the most exciting thing happening on the map, except for the harassment in the south side, but we do see quite a few Storm Riders running around, and probably right around 8 of them. 7 actually going to be running around, taking out a couple of power plants and going for the MCV. Can Shock Treatment finish this out? Does Bike Rush have anything? He has quite a few stealth tanks, but that's not going to be enough versus this many Seekers. What in the world does he have going on? How is he going to be able to pull this out of his hat? Or is he going to just lose this game straight up to Shock Treatment? Shock Treatment doing a pretty good spam attack, and it's actually, he's able to make it work. And is the single avatar going to be enough? And with the SAM turrets, it may just be enough to drive this army back, taking out another Storm Rider. Does he still have all 3 gravity stabilizers? Yes, he does, but can he afford to produce off of them? He's only got 1 field. I don't think Shock Treatment will be able to keep up that spam too much longer. On the other hand, Bike Rush doesn't have a whole lot going on for him. Did he? Yes, he had to sell off both of the War Factories over here. I cannot speak at all today, but he did sell off one quite a while ago, and then recently sold off the other one, just with one more War Factory, losing his MCV, but rebuilding and selling off that crane a while ago. Going to be getting trying to get his economy back online, but the Seekers are going to be showing up to do some damage, and they are going to be taking a couple of free hits from those stealth tanks, and the stealth tanks able to take out one Seeker tank before backing off, and now the Seeker tanks are going to be pressing forward. They can take out a couple of these Harvesters, or they can just not fire at them all at all, and Yeah, right there. Okay, one harvester does go down and an obelisk does go down, but another harvester will go down and he needs to pull out of here before taking too much damage. Focus down the harvester and then get out of there. A couple of more seeker tanks do go down, and one of the seeker tanks, where are you going? Bad pathing, probably being the enemy to shock treatment right there, but with these super speedy stealth tanks, they may be able to get a couple of more shots off on these seeker tanks. Just kidding, because the seeker tanks do detect stealth, and so that allows them to keep the stealth tanks at bay. Seeker tanks are going to be reverse moving, taking a couple of shots from these stealth tanks. As stealth tanks, actually, Bike Rush doing a pretty good job of just poking in, firing a couple of shots, and then backing out and getting out of there before he takes too much damage. But we are going to be seeing mass harvesting and even a stasis chamber going down. And then we are going to be seeing more Storm Riders coming out. Only 5 this time, so he has probably sold off one of those gravity stabilizers. Can't imagine that he decided to hold on to that, considering he's not really producing a whole lot off of it. Might as well just get the catch. But we are going to be seeing 4 tripods now into the fray. One of them does go down fairly quickly. Avatars from Bike Rush going to be the answer, and also stealth tanks keeping him in this game and allowing him to hold on, as well as with the obelisks. But can he take down the power of his opponent? No, and he even does lose one Storm Rider unless he produced a couple of more. But he is going to be down to just those 2 and dropping down the tier 3, of course, because of the tripods. But getting the shields, an excellent upgrade to be had, and it does make the tripods last quite a bit longer. And then it also, if you recover the husks, you do get full shields as well. And going to be going for that Tiberium Tower, or Tiberium Spike rather, not a bad choice. Just stop that free income just a little bit, even though it is only 25 credits a second. It does add up over time, and he is going to be able to harvest that Tiberium now, but taking out that single tripod husk, so cleaning up after himself, not allowing Bike Rush to capture that stuff. But we are going to be seeing some stealth tanks coming over here for the harass. Are they going to be able to do a lot of damage? We do have the mastermind. It could grab one of them. No, it is not going to. So not wanting to reveal that he has these stealth tanks, but we do have shock troopers over there. So what in the world is going to be happening with this mastermind? We will have to wait and see. Shock treatment has something up his sleeve, and we did just see possibly the radar jamming missile going down. Oh, and a massive Tiberium. Oh, I don't even remember what it's called. Tiberium Catalyst Missile is what it's called. But we are going to be seeing a stealth tank, fully heroic and epic stealth tank, going to be flying around the map, going to be able to do a little bit of damage. Are they going to go for that technology assembler, or are they just going to back around the map and try to escape? We are going to be seeing a massive attack over here from shock treatment, and there is not enough from Bike Rush to hold this off. He does have 2 avatars, and that is basically it, and a couple of obelisks spread out, but that is not going to be enough, especially with part of his army being detained by those. Actually, no, none of his army is being detained. It's just SAM turrets, which wouldn't be doing anything anyways, and he needs to. What is he doing? He's just walking around trying to EMP everything. I forgot about that, but he is going to be EMPing those avatars and shutting them down, keeping them from doing that extra bit of damage. But we are going to be seeing the stealth tanks, the heroic stealth tank, swing around the side there and do some damage, and they are going to be firing at the backs of those tripods. But they are going to be backing away at just the perfect time, and one more tripod will most likely go down, and there it goes. When this single avatar going to be trying to do some damage, and shock treatment, what are you doing? Why fire at those black hand squads? Just get out of there. Losing another tripod, and what is going on up here? So many shock troopers going to be moving around. So shock treatment going for the shock troopers. I'm sure there's lots of shocky puns that you can do, and it would just be shocking if I made them. But we are going to be seeing lots of shock troopers, which are pretty good, and they do allow you to, just if they have the blink packs, which they do not, they do have the plasma disc launchers, which allows them to do a little bit more damage. But we are going to be seeing calling in the buzzard hive and sending them to their deaths. I guess not really going to be going for the militant squads, but instead going to be distracting these shredder turrets from shooting. Oh, the shock troopers taking so much damage from that black hand squad, need to be able to take them out, but it does not look like they'll be able to, and going to be dropping the mines right there just as a preventative measure. Shock treatment, can he make something happen right here, right now, or will he simply have to forfeit the game to Bike Rush? I really have no idea who's going to win or who really has a solid advantage. It's just shock treatment. Shock treatment has such a massive army, but Bike Rush does have the tech advantage, and he's also got the Venoms, which are not a bad choice, especially considering how much infantry Shock treatment has, but the infantry can shoot into the air and moving his drone platform even. And look at this, sometimes by this point in the game you've seen the main fields regrow, but not so in this game. They're doing a fair job of keeping those harvested down. Sometimes you'll see them regrow to the point where they've got, you know, like 10,000 credits worth of resources there in shock treatment, trying to swing around to the back. But we do have 2 shredder turrets going to be there, and even a Venom as well. Venom instantly gets taken out, but with those 3 shredder turrets, that's going to be difficult for just the shock troopers to deal with, and I don't know if these tripods will be doing a whole lot. Yes, we do have a Devastator warship has now arrived, which means these Venoms are going to need to get to work trying to shoot it, but we need the shock troopers here to take out the Venoms. Where are they? Shock treatment barely able to save the shields on that Devastator warship before being able to retreat. Might want to go through and kind of slim out some of these refineries, as he's not really using too many of them, although I think he only has about 1 extra. Ooh, crazy game that's happening right here, and both of these players playing pretty well. Quite an exciting game, interesting play from both of these players, and quite an interesting opening thinking back to it with all of those buzzers out of shock treatment and able to turn it around. Both of these games going kind of flip-flopping as to who's actually in the lead, and just going to be throwing away a shock trooper squad, possibly for scouting. That's the only thing I could think of. Either that or it's a bad click, bad rally point. Maybe he wanted vision or something like that just to see what in the world is happening. But we are going to be seeing a storm column go down just as a little bit of defense, and it does look like the SAM turret's going to be going for that Devastator warship, going to be able to take it down in just a few more volleys, I can only imagine. Yep, 1 more volley should do it, and will it be enough to take it down? No, not quite. Oh, so close. That Devastator warship barely escaping, and the SAM turret network over here going pretty strong still, and this one Ore Collector, or not Ore Collector, been casting a bit too much Red Alert 3, but that 1 Tiberium Harvester trying to do its job, and even throwing away a 2nd Tiberium Harvester, possibly just on that auto harvest function. But the Devastator warship finally going down, and the Venom's going to be focusing down that Harvester, that poor Harvest, who all he wanted to do was just, he's not even like the GDI Harvesters that have, you know, weapons. He wants to harvest. And we are going to be transitioning into man spam, but throwing down a disruption tower just before that happens, so just to hide a little bit of his man spam, and also just so that shock treatment doesn't know what in the world is going on behind closed doors, or rather behind stealth doors, because hey, Bike Rush's entire army just about, actually he's basically split it in half. This stuff was all heading north, but then he decided to hold it back. Anyways, he's going to be moving out, splitting up his strike force into 2 groups, or rather his army into 2 strike forces, and another Devastator warship possibly going to be thrown away. He needs to focus maybe on taking another angle to this attack, maybe send in a couple of units to spot for him, and then do the damage with those Devastator warships. But it does look like Bike Rush Owns, I think, is going to be able to just push in here and crush this entire base, because there's basically nothing here. A single storm column, which would be super annoying because he would lose both tier 2 and tier 3, which means he would have to remake those, which means no more storm columns, no more tripods, no more shock troopers. But it does look like shock treatment going to be moving in shockingly quickly, and he is going to be pushing forward, just destroying those base defenses with the help of those Devastator warships, able to do quite a bit of damage. And the shock troopers, are they going to be enough? They have been getting torched by the Black Hand, getting just burned up and just myrtleized right there, and even the Devastator warships not doing a whole lot of damage, trying to focus down some of these base defenses. It's not really working, able to take out one of these shredder turrets, but is it going to be enough? And this entire battle is just mass mayhem with so many units out of Bike Rush doing quite a bit of damage to those shock troopers, and even taking out the power, so Bike Rush may have chosen the best time to strike, completely powering down the base, and even getting a couple of flame tanks in on the action, taking out the power plants and keeping those storm columns offline. Not a bad choice at all, and I think this will be it for shock treatment, unless he can somehow rush in here with a couple of avatars and do some massive damage. Is he going to be able to make it work? The moving back in with the shock troopers, and is it going to be enough? Another shredder turret does go down, and the avatar does, or the Annihilator does lock down that avatar, but he is not going to be able to take it down, as there is some some air support for Bike Rush, and he is going to be pulling back once again. There's no way that he's going to be able to just walk right in there, not with those Venoms there, and not with so many infantry. Although he may be able to clean this up, there's quite a few infantry squads still here for Bike Rush, and that did quite a bit more damage than I was expecting it to, especially with the Devastator warships going to be able to take out that disruption tower and then reveal, hey, there's not a whole lot else here. We are going to be seeing a little bit of a base race situation, as I think maybe shock treatment can kind of hold on here Bike Rush's army does have to travel entirely across the map, stopping over on the left side here to take out that little bit of a base there. Of course, everything is completely powered down. And are the Venoms going to be good enough? He doesn't have the laser capacitor upgrade, which would be so huge right now. It would be so helpful. But we are going to see more Annihilator tripods out of Bike Rush, even though he's playing Nod, and he is going to be taking down 2 of those Devastator warships and going for the other 2. And he is going to be focus firing not very much, but the Gunwalkers were enough to scare off those Venoms. And we are going to be seeing just more man spam out of Bike Rush because he doesn't have a whole lot of cash left, and hey, they are pretty cheap. Unfortunately, early, or rather tier 1 Scrin infantry kind of suck unless you can get out enough disintegrator squads to make something work. But he is going to be just still going for those shock troopers. He does still have a stasis chamber somewhere, or rather stasis chamber. He did have to rebuild that in his new main base. But we are going to be seeing more not more Devastator warships, but the Devastator warships push further forward. And now just a couple of units, couple of buildings rather, for Bike Rush owns. And is it going to be enough to hold on here? He is able to push back the Devastator warships a little. He just needs to hold on and wait for his army to show up. I think he might be able to push forward with these 2 tier 3 walkers if he can get them into the base of his opponent, but Shock Treatment knows that. He knows it's on the way, and he's going to push forward himself. And Bike Rush doesn't have a lot. His 3rd MCV now out and completed, which gives him a much needed longevity. He can move up here and set up base, which would just extend the game even further and make it even more difficult for Shock Treatment to take him out. But guess what? Shock Treatment has basically the same idea, and with not a whole lot of anti-air at this base for Bike Rush owns, it does look like the drone platform will be able to escape, and it does look like Bike Rush is going to be pushing in here, going to be able to completely decimate this base because there's nothing here to stop him, and he does have even a Black Hand, a couple of members of Black Hand squads left just to deal a little bit of extra damage. And my throat is currently dying, but also Bike Rush's army doing quite a bit of damage, causing Shock Treatment's army to die. I do not know who is going to win this. I mean, I think Bike Rush is going to win it just because he does have the superior army, but I wouldn't be surprised if Shock Treatment came out in the end. And is it going to be enough? Where is the drone platform? The drone ship up here going to be flying around. Is he going to sell it off right here? I think he will, maybe saying GG. But no, throwing it down, and that is going to be it for Shock Treatment. Has been defeated. A pretty crazy game out of both of these players, both Gemini, I don't know, but it is going to be Bike Rush, despite what the name in fact does say. But look at those resources out of Shock Treatment, and you may be wondering, why is there no Kane's Wrath recently? Well, it's because I actually left my Kane's Wrath disc back in Washington, where I used to live. So, yeah, no Kane's Wrath for a little while. Instead, going to be casting some Tiberium Wars. Actually, I don't remember if I already said that. If I didn't, well, there you go, but we are going to be taking a quick look at these graphs if anyone wants to see them. And Shock Treatment massively owning on that, and by massively owning, I mean like 32,000 more resources in the entire game, which is a pretty big deal. That's quite a few more units, but in the end, Bike Rush owns able to win out with that unit kill to death ratio, and that is going to do it for this game. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Sybert signing out.